We learned about the Violins of Hope in the fall of 2015, and very quickly it made sense for us to embrace the project and see how we could help bring the instruments to Nashville. We contacted our friends at the Jewish Federation, and Mark Friedman, the head of the organization, very quickly joined with us to make contact with Amnon Weinstein in Tel Aviv to find out if we would be able to bring the instruments here. We definitely needed their blessing. The Weinstein family has been instrumental in really taking these instruments that have come from almost nothing, being hidden in attics and almost cast away, and putting hours and hours and hours of professional work and craftsmanship into them to bring them back to life so that we could use them on the stage with our musicians. We've commissioned a new work by Jewish-American composer Jonathan Leshnoff. It is his 4th symphony, and we will premiere that in March as the exhibit opens.
They give, in a way, a glimpse of Jewish life and Jewish history of the war in a very small way. We have 6 million stories of people who died. We have many more stories of people who lived. And these are just a very small amount of stories which can, I wouldn't even say give us tell us what happened, because I don't believe that we can actually understand this time. This is an era that we all hope and wish will never come back. And it's an era that we have to learn from in order to make sure it doesn't come back, it doesn't happen again.
When studying the Holocaust, it's really hard for us as humans to wrap our minds around these extraordinarily large numbers. We're talking about 6 million Jewish deaths, maybe 11 million deaths overall. And I think that's why it's been so important for us to focus on the lives of individuals. And figures like Anne Frank and Primo Levi and Elie Wiesel, because they can help humanize this otherwise unimaginable tragedy. And that's what I think these stories behind the Violins of Hope are equally valuable to us, to remind us that we're not just talking about one story of 6 million deaths, we're talking about 6 million different stories. What I hope people learn from the Violins of Hope is that even in the darkest of times, people held on to their humanity, and they held on to their music, and they held on to their violins, and that's what gave them hope.
And with these violins, it's the same way. They have a history. And the fact that they survived is just a miracle. I mean, can you imagine the conditions? I mean, we complain if the humidity isn't correct, or it's too dry, or it's too wet, or blah, blah, blah. You know, I can't imagine what it was like in that camp. And they had probably no opportunity to have them restored or cleaned or anything, and they probably had blood all over them too, because they were beaten and they were stoned as they were playing. So it's an amazing thing to be able to touch something like that, and to me it has nothing to do with how it sounds. It's who touched it, and that's the bottom line.
Where I see this project and what it means for me is that even though there's a complicated history, emotional history, especially, you know, these violins were played for the Nazis. They were, you know, they had to play them, but at the same time, it also meant that if they could play them, it gave them hope that they could possibly survive, and that's what it meant. It meant that they might live. And that's the bottom line. And for me personally, I think the reason that I'm a musician, and I think a lot of us are musicians, is that the bottom line for us is that we want to make the world a better place. We want to give that hope to people.
When you pick the instrument up, you can almost feel an energy, a channeling of energy through the instrument, through the stories, the history behind the instruments, and the hard work that the Weinsteins have put into restoring these instruments is another aspect of what makes playing them kind of extremely special.
Our list of partners continues to grow, and I would encourage you to return to our website regularly. It's Violins of Hope Nashville. Take a look at the partners page and the events page because new events are being added all the time. You'll find events for children, for young adults and adults, concerts, lectures, discussions, chamber music, etc. And I think you'll absolutely find something for everyone to participate.